Secretary Noem, thanks for being here today. Despite the undeniable increase in terrorist threats at the border and in the interior of the United States, Alejandro Mayorkas repeatedly misled this committee and the American people by asserting that aliens entering our country were being properly vetted and screened. When I asked him many times about whether or not the border was secure, his response was, secure did not mean migration had stopped. It simply meant that resources had been deployed, enforcement processes were in place, and legal authorities were being used in a proper way. Completely ridiculous. My question is related to the vetting process, though. Can you just elaborate a little bit on how you had to reform and change that process compared to where we were under Secretary Mayorkas?
Well, if you're talking in specifics to programs under USCIS that were being utilized by the Biden administration to allow access into our country, we have put on pause a hold on green cards and naturalizations from 39 different countries of interest that the president had identified with the State Department. And Operation Allies Welcome has been a huge conversation as well. Those individuals are being re-vetted, and they're being re-vetted by going back and interviewing them. Under the refugee program, every year there's to be an in-person interview conducted in order to keep that status and to see if this individual is working to become a legal permanent resident or not. That was not happening at all. There was no interviews happening. There was no looking at social media and what they were out there putting on the internet as far as thoughts and opinions and how they were being successful assimilating into getting a job, or how their kids were doing in school. Those things, all that vetting is being done, and background information now to make new determinations on individuals, not just that were here under that program, but that came in under the Biden administration, that we know that due diligence on vetting wasn't done.
So there's another small change I hope you can just discuss, and that is former border chief and now with CBP Commissioner Rodney Scott. He testified to our committee in 2023 that an illegal alien was only screened against U.S. criminal databases and not against databases from the alien countries of origin, which makes no sense.
That's correct.
I mean, obviously, somebody that didn't live in the States suddenly crosses the border illegally, and the only thing that they had been utilizing was some kind of database, which obviously did not include the individual that illegally crossed. I'm wondering, that must have been something you eliminated almost immediately or changed. I'm just wondering if you could discuss that.
No, we do all that due diligence now, and it's very difficult to get adequate vetting from a country that doesn't have a stable government as well. So when there is that situation and they can't provide you with any information, that individual is not allowed to participate in any of the programs that would allow them to be here on a workman's visa or a student visa or information. If we can't do that vetting ahead of time and know truly who that person is and why they're in the United States, they're not admitted. And one thing I would say is that since I've been secretary, we've signed dozens of security agreements with other countries. With Central and South America, we have to share information to be able to give us their criminal. I've gone there and had them come here so that we could agree to share that information in the future. In the Middle East, incredible partnership on getting access to that. CBP has one of the world's largest databases of information on travelers around the world, and how we cooperate and coordinate with these other countries helps us know when they're coming into our country. And I even negotiated the first extradition out of Honduras to help an angel family here in the United States to prosecute someone who was just convicted the other day of 21 years in prison for murdering Sarah Root. And that's the first time that country had ever extradited anybody for murder to the United States. And so by engaging on these cases, we not only get closure for families and justice for them, but we also do due diligence on who's in this country and what their intentions are when they get here.
And just the final thing I would ask you to comment on. The face-to-face interviews are critical, right?
They are.
And they were not being done under the Biden administration at all.
They were not.
And it can be a brief interaction, but oftentimes it's when they determine whether or not this person is in the States and in a good status. Is that not true?
That is true, and they placed a lot of weight on a letter of recommendation from another agency. So many times, some of the other protocols were not checked if they just had a letter of recommendation from someone else in the federal government. We've stopped that, and even if we do get someone who recommends someone as a refugee, we still vet them thoroughly.
Thank you. I yield back, Chairman.